The World Tree is one of the most iconic symbols of Norse mythology, a giant tree whose branches hold the 9 realms. And while what realms make up that list may be up for debate, the tree is consistent through the 2 primary sources that we have. Norse mythology, while being one of the most well-known ancient European mythologies, actually has very few sources that we can use to learn about it. The prose and poetic Edda are the main literary sources available, neither of which were written before the region was fully Christianized for at least a few hundred years. Additional sources like sagas were also written after Christianization and occasionally reference the old religion, but due to the time frame of them being recorded, it's impossible to actually differentiate what existed pre-Christianization and what did not. There was a written language in ancient Scandinavia, which was a runic alphabet known as Eldarfusnark. However, primary sources from pre-Christianization are so few and far between, those surviving to this day are limited in what information they provide. The ancient Romans recorded some stuff regarding ancient Norse culture and religion, but as they often did, they translated it to equate Norse deities with their own Roman pantheon. All this leads to modern-day scholars having incredibly few sources, and for our purposes, incredibly few references to the famous World Tree. With all that being said, please keep in mind that the study of Old Norse religion is incredibly complicated, and debates by academics over the details and credibility of any source is common, which is one of the main reasons we will not be attempting to tackle the inconsistent list of the 9 worlds, because even though the 2 sources that we have claim the existence of the 9 worlds hosted within the branches of the World Tree, those lists don't even match within a single source, let alone comparing to each other. The Poetic Edda, sometimes referred to as the Elder Edda, is the older of the 2 sources and was written by an unknown author, commonly believed to be a Christian monk. The Prose Edda, meanwhile, was written by Snorri Sturluson, a politician whose goal was to unite Norway and Iceland under one king, and was using the Prose Edda to express one shared cultural identity. The stories recorded in the Poetic and Prose Edda are some of the best comprehensive examples we have today of ancient Nordic mythology, such as the Pantheon and creation myth. In these, Yggdrasil is discussed from a vantage point where the reader is already expected to have some previous understanding of its role. It was first introduced in Ursula Donk's translation with the quote, "An ash I know there stands, Yggdrasil is its name, a tall tree showering with shining loams. From there the dew that drops into the valley, it forever stands green over Yggdrasil well." Many of the remaining stories focusing on Yggdrasil refer to the bodies of water located at the tree's 3 roots. These bodies of water are an important part of the World Tree and function as key locations to many tales. The first of which is Yggdrasil well. Yggd is one of the 3 Norns, along with Verdandi and Skuld, and they are personifications of past, present, and future. They water the World Tree every day to keep it healthy, and in doing so the tree is protected and cannot fall due to rot or an iron blade. This well is so important to the gods in Asgard that this is where they hold their daily court. The second well is Mimir's well, or the Well of Wisdom. Named for the severed head of Mimir that hangs from the tree over the waters, Mimir was one of the wisest gods in Asgard. However, he was accused by Odin of aiding Sturgun, who he was romantically involved with. Odin later travels to this well in order to gain wisdom, and in the branches of Yggdrasil he hangs himself there for 9 days, sacrificing himself to himself, and leaves one of his eyes to forever sit in the waters of the well. In doing this, he gains the knowledge of runes. Runes could mean both magic and written language, and it's unclear which interpretation should be considered. In some poems, Yggdrasil is called Minnimir, or Mimir's tree. It is commonly accepted theory that Yggdrasil could mean Odin's gallows, Ygg being an epithet for Odin. Both names for the World Tree, therefore, would have come from the same story, and likely would have been used interchangeably depending on the poetic context. The last well at the roots of the World Tree is called Helvergelmur, or Hot Spring Boiler. Described as being located between a place of fire and ice, it is considered one of the oldest locations in Norse mythology. This well is fed from the dew that drips off of the World Tree, and the boiling waters are filled with serpents. Among these snakes is the dragon Nidhugger. The Poetic Edda says that the dragon would chew on the roots of the World Tree in hopes of causing the tree to endure damage and rot, and hopefully making it collapse. But no matter how the dragon chews, the World Tree will continue to stand and refuses to fall until Ragnarok. In addition to the Norns, the World Tree is home to many different creatures who reside in the bark instead of the realms. In the poem Grimmismal, the dragon is described to be in an insult match against a giant unnamed eagle who lives at the top of the World Tree. Their insults are passed up and down the bark by a squirrel Ratatoska. Like much of Norse mythology, Yggdrasil has a role to play in Ragnarok. It is important to note that there is current academic debate on whether or not Ragnarok is a pre-Christian concept. The reset of the world where the old gods die and the ones left alive guide the humans into a newer, brighter world is likely heavily influenced by the Christianization of those myths at that time, though the amount of which is unknown. During the main battle of Ragnarok, the World Tree is said to be damaged. However, when the world is reborn eternally green, it is unclear if the tree continues to house the realms within its branches after the destruction. The shaking from the dragon, the burns of Surtur, and with the Bifrost completely shattered, the World Tree clearly suffers. But as it was written in the prose and poetic era, Ragnarok is just as much about a new start as it is the end of an old. The worlds are destroyed, yes, but some humans survive, and they can start again. And maybe the World Tree can hold something new. Thank you so much for watching. This video is going to hold a special place in my heart, not only because of how long it took me to put together, but also because I've been meaning to do a lot more research on Nordic culture. A lot of my family's from there, but I always knew very little. And a huge thank you to Princess Ponies 8 for giving me a huge hand on the research and proofreading of the script. I couldn't have done it without you. All that being said, please keep in mind that I don't speak any Nordic languages, so pronunciations of certain words may have been slightly off. I tried my best, guys. I hope I did you well. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!